He was an ordinary man with an ordinary routine, but one quiet evening, everything changed. Just like any other day, he stepped outside to walk his dog, a simple ritual that brought comfort and calm. But this time, he never came back. No warning, no struggle, no goodbye. For decades, his disappearance was a haunting mystery that left the small town gripped with unanswered questions. His name was David, a devoted husband and father, known for his kind smile and love for his loyal dog, Max. The streets where he vanished were familiar, tree-lined, peaceful, filled with neighbors who waved as they passed. Yet on that fateful night, those familiar streets became a maze of silence, a place where hope slowly faded. Everyone wondered, what happened to David? Why did he just vanish without a trace? Years passed, the case grew cold, and families tried to move on while holding on to memories and the hope of closure. But the heartache never fully disappeared. For decades, the community clung to fragments of the past, desperate for answers. And then, out of nowhere, something impossible surfaced to watch. Not just any watch, but David's watch, discovered years later in the home of a complete stranger hundreds of miles away. This watch, worn and weathered by time, suddenly reignited the mystery. How did it get there? What story did it carry? Was it a clue to David's fate, or just a cruel twist of chance? The discovery sent shockwaves through those who had never given up searching. Was David still out there somewhere, or had something far darker happened on that quiet walk? Tonight, we dive deep into this chilling case, an investigation that spans decades, weaving together lost time, forgotten memories, and the relentless search for truth. What secrets does that watch hold? Who is the stranger in whose home it was found? And will the answers finally bring peace or open wounds that have long been buried? Stay with me as we uncover the layers of this story, one that's more than just a disappearance, but a haunting puzzle that refuses to be forgotten. Because sometimes the smallest object can unlock the darkest mysteries. And sometimes the past is never truly gone. For years, David's disappearance was just a whisper in the wind, an unanswered question that lingered like a shadow over his family and the town that loved him. He wasn't just a man who walked his dog and vanished. He was a husband who never came home, a father whose children grew up without their father's voice, his laughter, or the steady presence that once anchored their lives. His wife, Mary, spent endless nights staring at the doorway, hoping to hear the sound of his footsteps, the jingle of Max's collar, anything that would tell her he was still out there somewhere. But those sounds never came. David's routine had always been simple. Every evening, after dinner, he'd take Max for a walk around the neighborhood, a few blocks through familiar streets lined with maples and oaks, the kind of quiet route that soothed his restless mind. He was a man who found comfort in these small rituals, a way to clear his head after long days working as a mechanic in the local garage. Friends described him as dependable and steady, the kind of guy you could always count on. So when he disappeared without a trace, it shattered the very fabric of that calm. The police searched tirelessly, following every lead and tip that came in, but nothing ever surfaced. No sign of struggle, no clues, just silence. Over time, the pain of the unknown turned to frustration, then despair. David's family tried to hold on, hoping for a miracle, but each passing year carved deeper wounds in their hearts. Then came the unexpected, the watch. Found years later in a stranger's home far from David's quiet town, it was more than just an old timepiece. It was a symbol of mystery and unanswered questions. How had David's watch ended up in a place no one could have imagined? Was it evidence of a hidden truth or a cruel coincidence? The discovery didn't bring relief. It stirred the embers of hope and fear in equal measure. For Mary, it was a painful reminder of a life that might have been. For the community, it was a haunting riddle. What really happened to the man who went out to walk his dog and never came back? Every detail mattered now. Every memory a clue that could unlock the past. But as the layers unfolded, it became clear this story was far from simple. Secrets buried deep, connections lost in time, and shadows that stretched longer than anyone could see. Tonight, We'll peel back those layers together, tracing David's last steps, the years of silence, and the startling discovery that could change everything. The question remains, what does that watch really mean, and where's David now? As the watch resurfaced, ripples spread far beyond the small town where David had vanished. For Mary, it was a bittersweet sign, a tangible piece of the past she never wanted to lose, but one that reopened old wounds she'd long tried to bury. Her grief was now tangled with confusion and suspicion. Why had the watch appeared in the home of a stranger, someone with no obvious connection to David or their quiet life? The discovery raised unsettling questions that made her question everything she thought she knew. Behind the scenes, tensions quietly simmered. Some in the community whispered of secrets best left alone, stories about David that didn't quite add up. There were rumors, subtle but persistent. A dispute with a neighbor, a late-night argument overheard but never explained, and strange behavior in the days before he disappeared. Those whispers introduced shades of doubt into the picture of the dependable man everyone remembered. Was there something David was running from? Or someone who had wanted him gone? At the same time, Mary wrestled with her own guilt and anger. Could she have done more? Should she have noticed signs she'd missed? Her resolve to find answers grew stronger, but so did the weight of isolation. Not everyone wanted to dig up the past. Some feared what the truth might reveal and worried about reopening painful old wounds. Mary's determination to uncover the truth began to clash with those who wanted to protect the status quo, creating fractures in friendships and alliances. Meanwhile, far from the town, the stranger who found the watch faced his own moral quandary. How did David's watch end up in his possession? Was it a clue or a coincidence? His hesitation to come forward suggested he was caught in a web of secrecy, torn between revealing what he knew and protecting himself from unknown dangers. His silence only deepened the mystery, leaving viewers wondering what forces might be at play beyond the surface. As these parallel stories unfolded, new questions emerged. What if David's disappearance was part of something larger? A tangled web involving secrets, betrayals, or even danger lurking just out of sight? What if the watch was the key to unlocking a truth no one was ready to face? The story's shadows grew longer, pulling everyone involved into a deeper, more complex mystery. This is not just a tale of loss. It's a journey into human complexity, flaws, fears, and the difficult choices that shape our lives. Mary's search is more than a quest for closure. It's a confrontation with the unknown, a fight against silence and denial. The stranger's silence hints at secrets waiting to be exposed, and the community's quiet tensions speak to the fragile balance between memory and forgetfulness. As we move forward, keep your eyes open for the hidden clues and subtle hints that may lead us closer to the truth or further into darkness. What will happen when the past and present collide? And how far will people go to protect the secrets they hold? The air in the small town felt heavier than usual, like a storm pressing just beyond the horizon. Mary's relentless search for the truth had stirred something deeper than anyone expected. The watch's discovery was no longer just a cold case reopening. It had become a catalyst, unraveling years of silence, suspicion, and fear. One evening, Mary received an anonymous note slipped under her door. No signature, no explanation, just a chilling warning. Some stones are better left unturned. Her hands trembled as she read it. Was someone watching her? Did they want her to stop? The warning only fueled her determination. She couldn't turn back now, not when answers were so close. At the same time, the stranger, the man who had the watch, finally agreed to meet Mary, but only in secret. His eyes darted nervously as he spoke, barely whispering the fragments of what he knew. He revealed a name, a shadowy figure tied to David's last days. A person no one in town had dared mention before. The stranger's hesitation was palpable, like he was afraid even the walls might be listening. Meanwhile, rumors began to spread faster than wildfire. Some townsfolk whispered of past betrayals and old grudges resurfacing. Mary's closest allies started to doubt the people they once trusted. Friends turned into suspects. Tension thickened like fog settling over the streets. Mary confronted one old friend who had seemed loyal all along. The conversation cracked beneath the weight of unspoken truths. Accusations hung in the air, sharp and raw. "Why didn't you tell me before?" Mary demanded. The friend's silence spoke louder than words. Secrets had been kept, maybe to protect, maybe to hide. The watch, once just a forgotten keepsake, had become a symbol of everything hidden beneath the town's calm surface. Each tick echoed the urgency of the moment. Time was running out. More questions than answers. One night, Mary found herself standing outside an abandoned house, the place the stranger had mentioned. The air was thick with silence. The door creaked open just enough to let in the cold wind. Inside, dust-covered furniture and faded wallpaper whispered of forgotten memories. And on a cracked windowsill, another clue. Suddenly, footsteps. A shadow moved just beyond the doorway. Mary froze. Heart pounding, breath shallow. Was it someone coming to stop her? Or was someone finally ready to reveal the truth? The story teetered on the edge. Every secret uncovered seemed to pull her deeper into a dangerous web. The watch's journey, the stranger's fear, the town's whispers, all pointed to a truth darker than anyone had imagined. What was really hiding beneath that quiet street where David had vanished? And would Mary be ready when the past finally caught up with her? Just as Mary's heart pounded at the threshold of the abandoned house, a voice she never expected pierced the silence. "You shouldn't be here." The words came from behind her, familiar, yet heavy with betrayal. She spun around to face her brother, Mark, his eyes shadowed with guilt and fear. Mark had been part of the search from the start, her closest ally through the darkest days. But now, standing there, his expression told a different story. "I try to protect you," he said, voice low. "There are things about David's disappearance, things you don't know, things I was sworn to keep secret." Mary's world shifted. The man she trusted most had been hiding the truth all along. But why? What was so dangerous that Mark couldn't even share it with his own sister? Her mind raced, piecing together the fragments of the puzzle she'd chased for years. Meanwhile, across town, the stranger who'd handed over the watch wrestled with his own choice. In his cluttered apartment, he paced frantically, phone pressed to his ear. "I can't stay silent anymore," he whispered, voice trembling. "People are going to get hurt if this comes out." His hand hovered over a dusty folder, thick with papers and photographs, evidence that could shatter everything the town believed. Back in the abandoned house, Mary's eyes landed on a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards. Inside, she found a stack of letters, worn with age, addressed to David but never sent. The words inside revealed a web of lies, betrayals, and secrets involving people she thought she knew and trusted. The stakes suddenly felt unbearable. Cross-cutting between Mary's discovery and the stranger's frantic phone call, the tension skyrocketed. Both were closing in on the truth, but time was slipping away. Loyalties were unraveling, and danger loomed closer than ever. Mary's hands trembled as she read a letter exposing a long-hidden betrayal. Someone close had a motive for silence, and maybe worse. The stranger's revelations hinted at a conspiracy, stretching far beyond a simple disappearance. The watch, once a symbol of hope, now felt like a ticking clock counting down to a devastating truth. Mary faced a cruel choice: expose the secrets and risk tearing her family apart, or bury the past forever and live with the unanswered questions. This twist transformed everything. The story was no longer just about a man who vanished. It was about trust broken, secrets buried, and the courage to confront a past that refused to stay hidden. Will Mary find the strength to face the betrayal? Can a stranger break free from his silence before it's too late? The answers lie just beyond the next door, waiting to be uncovered. Mary's hand shook as she pieced together the truth buried in the yellowed letters. Each word carried the weight of betrayal and heartbreak, secrets that shattered everything she believed about her family and David's disappearance. The letters revealed that David had uncovered something dangerous, something that threatened powerful people in the town. His disappearance wasn't random. It was planned. Mark stepped forward, his eyes heavy with remorse. "I kept silent to protect you," he confessed. "But the people behind this, they don't hesitate to destroy anyone who gets too close." His fear was real, but Mary's grief had turned to fierce determination. The stranger, who'd called to warn Mary, arrived just as she and Mark prepared to confront those who had hidden the truth for so long. His evidence, photos, documents, and David's watch, was enough to expose a cover-up that had spanned decades. The confrontation was tense. Faces once familiar now looked like strangers. Accusations flew, truths emerged, and long-buried fears spilled into the open. The town's fragile peace cracked as the conspiracy unraveled, revealing dark ties that reached far deeper than anyone had imagined. But just when it seemed the truth would finally set them free, the final twist hit. As Mary turned over the last letter, she discovered a hidden message, written in David's hand, but dated years after his disappearance. It wasn't a cry for help, but a warning. He was still out there, watching, waiting alive. The shock rippled through Mary and the others. The mystery wasn't over. It had only just begun. David's disappearance was no longer a tale of loss, but of survival and secrets still unfolding. And now, with the watch returned and the truth exposed, Mary's fight was far from finished. After the storm of revelations, the small town slowly began to heal. The secrets that had haunted Mary and her family for decades were finally out in the open, breaking the chains of silence that had bound them all. Though the truth was painful, it brought a bittersweet sense of closure. Mary stood by the window of her quiet home, the watch resting gently on the table beside her. It was a symbol now, not just of loss, but of resilience. Her brother Mark had begun to rebuild the trust they'd lost, both carrying the heavy weight of the past, but moving forward together. The stranger's courage to speak up had ignited the courage of many, reminding the town that even the darkest mysteries can't stay hidden forever. Yet, the discovery that David was still alive left a lingering hope and a question that would never fully fade. Where is he now? What life had he lived in the shadows? Mary realized that some stories don't end neatly, but continue quietly, shaped by time and choice. This story is a testament to the power of persistence, to the courage it takes to face uncomfortable truths, and to the human need for answers, even when those answers challenge everything we thought we knew. It reminds us that beneath every mystery are people with fears, regrets, and unyielding hope. As Mary reflects on her journey, she shares a simple truth. Sometimes, the hardest walks are the ones we take alone, but they lead us to where we truly belong. If this story moved you, if you believe that every missing person deserves to be remembered and every family deserves the truth, then join the conversation. Like, share, and subscribe, not just for the story, but for justice. Because every voice matters. Every case deserves to be seen.